have very many cards. I believe 3 of them to start this particular game. So Jessup will start here with a copy of Opulent Palace. Brad is just going to pass. And now here's a Thoughtseize, and Brad might concede to this Thoughtseize. We'll see.
Especially playing a deck that's a little outside of the norm here in BANT midrange.
Well, he's going to show the hand. Den Protector, Corsair of Crewfix, Fleecebane Lion, and Dragonlord Ochitai. Now,
him not conceding here may be as much about Brad wanting to accumulate information about what Jess is playing as is on the other side. A Opulent Palace and Thoughtseize, that could still be several decks. So I think Brad just wants to play for a little bit of information here. And seeing a Frontier Bivouac, that's a lot of information.
It's funny because that Frontier Bivouac probably gives away, it's weird the kind of information it gives away, honestly, because here's a carry added. Now you might be thinking, okay, is he the Sultai Reanimator deck? Is he a weird, goofy Abzan deck? Because we've seen Sultai Reanimator decks with Frontier Bivouac that splash for Dragonlord Tarka. Sidisi is pretty telling on what exactly Jessup is up to. Deathness Raptor is going to hit the graveyard as well Sylvan Caryatid, so a zombie is going to join the battlefield. But this is purely for Brad to pick up information. He had to give some information away due to the Thoughtseize, but I actually think it's pretty smart to continue to play.
Absolutely. If Andrew was starting on a typical Abzan start, maybe you see a concession in face of the Thoughtseize. But Andrew's start there was a little odd. You see a Sultai Tri-land there. Could mean a number of decks. You might as well play on for a little while.
What's really interesting about this, because out of all the information Brad's picking up here, and let's not forget something here, by the way. Brad, when he won the Players' Championship, was playing Sultai Reanimator, so he's familiar with this deck, obviously. But the Frontier Bivouac gives away so much information, especially because Brad picks up on things like this like crazy. I mean, he's arguably the best standard player in the world. If the Sultai Reanimator deck is playing a Bivouac, it's not for fixing.
Yes.
It's to play Dragonlord Tarka, and there are 2 main deck copies in Jessup's deck. Jessup's going to turn over some more cards here. I mean, in a moment here, Andrew's going to win this game, but this is kind of a little bit of an underplay thing in Magic where you can pick up a lot of information just of, okay, what cards are you turning over with Sidisi? What lands are you playing? If I'm Andrew, I'm not attacking with Sidisi anymore, which I actually like a lot, because if I attack with Sidisi, I have to turn over 3 more cards and potentially give away some more information. So I actually like the fact that he wasn't even willing to attack with that card anymore, because he doesn't want to give away any information and potentially turn over a card like Dragonlord Tarka.
Exactly. Andrew knows what's going on there. Brad knows he's beat, but he's playing out the game to get some more information. Andrew could potentially reveal some odd one-ofs there with the attack from Sidisi there. He doesn't need the attack from Sidisi to attack for lethal, so reveal as little information as possible.
We're going to go to the sideboards here, and this is where things are going to get a little interesting. I think both players know what the other is playing at this point, even though that game took, 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew saw Fleecebane Lion and Dragonlord Ochitai, so that kind of gives away that mystery. And Andrew with the lands and the Sidisi and Whip, well, he gave away all this information as well.
Yeah. Well, we'll take a look at Brad's sideboard first. We'll see what 15 he's got to work with.
A Disdainful Stroke, a Dromoka's Command, a Valorous Stance, 3 copies of Master of the Unseen, 2 copies of Plummet, 2 copies of Glare of Heresy, 3 copies of Hornet Nest, 2 copies of Elspeth, Sun's Champion. Brad's probably going to want to go a little bit bigger here. I think the 2 copies of Elspeth are reasonable. The Disdainful Stroke is great. The Dromoka's Command, Andrew is playing with Whip of Erebos. He's playing with smaller creatures. He's probably playing with Corsair Crewfix, so Dromoka's Command is nice here as well. And past that, I don't know if this is really a Mastery Unseen matchup. I think Andrew might play a better, longer game than Brad does. But if Brad's really going into more of a mid-range to control route here, then he may want Mastery as well.
We will take a look at Jessup's sideboard. He's got 3 copies of Drown and Sorrow, a Sultai Charm, a Hero's Downfall, 2 Disdainful Stroke, 2 Dragonlord Salumgar, and Ugin the Spirit Dragon, a Dig Through Time, 2 Haven of the Spirit Dragon, a Crux of Fate, and a Soul of Innistrad. So an interesting sideboard package here for him.
And I like Andrew bringing in the cards that allow him to play a better late game here as well. Brad's deck a little bit on the slow side to begin with, and he's probably slowing down, if anything, post-board. So I think you can see things like Crux, the 2 copies of Haven of the Spirit Dragon, the additional copy of Ugin, 2 copies of Dragonlord Slumgar, 2 copies of Disdainful Stroke, the Hero's Downfall, the Dig Through Time. We might see an entirely different deck out of Andrew post-board.
Interesting to see the Haven of the Spirit Dragons in the sideboard. It's a real plan at work there with Ugin, and he mills himself a lot. I think it's actually pretty unique.
Well, in your matchups against mid-range and control strategies, you often cut some of the mana. Sylvan Caryatid stands out as a card. You don't want to play it in the face of a bunch of sweepers, and it's just a low-impact draw. And you already have Corsair Crewfix in the deck, so there's an incentive to be playing with more lands anyway. So in the control matchups, if you want to have access to the same amount of mana, but you want to be doing something a little more powerful in the long game, bringing in Haven and cutting your cards like Sylvan Caryatid is a nice way to do that.
These players will get ready here for game number 2. We hope it's longer than game number 1. We'll very quickly talk about regionals here with Star City. Summer 2015, August 1st is the date. You see the locations available here, so make sure you kind of line up where you want to go, because if you're not qualified for the Pro Tour, well, you can still play some Magic.
Yeah, first weekend of August 1 here, starcitygames.com/regionals for more information for that event. You can see that the venues have already been posted here, so you can go to the website, get more information, find the regional championship closest to you, and if you're trying to qualify for our invitationals, if you're looking for Open Series points, or you just want to play in a pretty large cash tournament during the weekend of the Pro Tour, Regional Championships tournament for you.
Of course, this fantastic play mat will be available to our first 200 players who do sign up for their particular regional. So if you want to get this sweet little play on Ellen DeGeneres' Oscars photo, StarCityGames.com/regionals for more information. August 1st, that's the place that you're going to want to be. And I know what you're probably thinking. August 1st is probably pretty far away. Well, July 1st is Wednesday, so you're wrong.
Yep, happens faster than you think.
Yeah.
2 weekends off, then a tournament in Chicago, tournament in Charlotte, and we're back.
And then it's regionals all of a sudden. Elvish Mystic is where Nelson's going to start. Jessup will start things off with an opulent palace. Tremoka's command the draw here for Brad. He will play a Windswept Heath, go down to 19. Now we got a Death Mist Raptor. I imagine a Plains on the way here for Nelson. And now we'll see what Jessup can put together for his second turn of the game.
Interested to see how much has Andrew gotten away from his enchantments in the post-board games. He's got to be anticipating a lot of copies of Tremoka's commands out of Brad's list. And do you get away from cards like Corsair Crewfix or Whip of Erebos as a result?
There's a Sylvan Caryatid and a passing of the turn back to Nelson. Jessup looking to ramp maybe into Sidisi. And Brad is the reigning players champion here in the Open Series circuit. Beat Gerard Fabiano in the finals last year at the Star City Games Center. Number 9 on our Season 3 leaderboard, but we'll see him back at the Players Championship later this year no matter what. He gets the opportunity to defend that title. There's a Fleecemane Lion. Pass the turn back over to Jessup.
Great opening here for Brad, applying a lot of pressure, threatening lethal with Fleecemane Lion, or monsters rather, with Fleecemane Lion next turn. Also has the ability to Tremoka's command away a Sidisi, were that to show up right now. Very good opening.
Yeah, with that trigger on the stack, be able to kill it.
Yep.
See what Jessup's looking to put together on his third turn of the game. He's already under the gun, to say the least. Crusader Wayfinder. There'll be a trigger here. Hornet Queen is 1, Dent Protector is 2, Yapamaya Coast is 3, and Disdainful Stroke is 4. So the coast will go to the grip, the rest will go to the graveyard. See if Jessup wants to play that Yapamaya Coast as his land for the turn. He will play the coast. And now just pass the turn back over to Nelson. Nelson will take a draw. It appears. Looks like it's going to be a Murderous Cut on the upkeep. He's going to go after Fleecemane Lion before Brad's able to play land number 5.
Yeah, and doing it in the upkeep, so if Brad has something like Disdainful Stroke or Negate, he has to spend the mana on his own turn rather than use the 2 mana left over at the end of Andrew's turn.
That's a smart play by Jessup. So we'll see what Nelson can put together here with his Bant deck. He'll start by attacking with Death Mist Raptor. Once I say their Wayfinder is going to start blocking immediately. Perhaps Jessup would like some more cards in his graveyard, work more towards delving.
If that Wayfinder is doing nothing but chump blocking anyway, you might as well get the chump block out of the way as soon as possible, because you never know what's going to happen. Maybe something else happens to that Wayfinder, or it can't block for some reason down the line. No reason to wait if you know that's all the Wayfinder's going to do.
Next door, 301. Again, 2-headed giant players, round 2 pairings are in room 301.
Let's see what's next here for Brad. Oh, and the tank he goes. Last weekend for Nelson, not a great one. Played Jeskai at Grand Prix Providence, but wasn't even close to making day 2.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time Brad has busted out of a standard Grand Prix.
It's probably pretty hard for him too. We'll start by sacrificing the Flooded Strand. Perhaps an island on the way here for Nelson. And there it is. all three colors up. Let's see what's next here for Nelson. Gonna tap 3 mana. Gonna play a Morph, a Mystic, pass the turn back. Morph could be Deathness Raptor, could be Den Protector. It's all very unclear at this point. Jessup will take a draw.
Pretty risky line here from Brad. You can tell he's thinking about it for a little while. He knows that it's possible for Jessup to have a sweeper like Crux of Fate here post-board. And in fact, there is one in Andrew's list.
And it's just a Sidisi, it appears. There will be a trigger. Let's see if it hits. 1 is a cut, 2 is a Dragonlord Slumguard, 3 is a Den Protector, so a zombie on the way. You saw last turn, Brad was able to leave up Dromoka's command. This turn, he decided not to.
Yeah, he just needed to add more to his board, because if he waits too long, he's at risk of just getting overpowered by Andrew having just a bunch of 5 and 6 mana plays. He took a risk here, could have gotten nailed by a sweeper, but he avoided the worst of it, and now he should be in okay shape.
Brad does have actually 2 copies of Dromoka's command in his hand at this point. Only 1 white source of mana, however.
Brad probably just trying to figure out now, do I have to play Dromoka's command before combat, or is there an attack for me to make where I can get Jessup to mess up and get a little more out of it? I suppose there's also the threat of another murderous cut.
There is a mana available. That's definitely something to think about. That carry added will definitely cause a little bit of thinking here for Nelson.
If you just fire off the Dromoka's command, let's say, you put a counter on your Deathness Raptor and you fight Sidisi, and Jessup does have Murderous Cut, it's really bad news.
It's horrible news.
Because Brad can't even respond right now with another copy of Dromoka's command because he's only got the single white mana.
Well, Nelson looks like he's going to be casting Dromoka's command. And he will. The Morph will get a counter. And then Deathness Raptor is going to fight Sidisi. Interesting. Okay.
And this way, Brad gets to hedge a little bit against a removal spell. Also, if he can unmorph right now, he gets the Raptor back for free.
He'll unmorph Den Protector. Raptor's going to come back. Get back to Windswept Heath. This opens him up to be able to catch Dromoka's command again. Interesting line of plays here.
Well, not only that, but now his Sun Protector is a 4-power creature. That's going to be pretty challenging for Jessup's deck to block.
Yep. There's an attack for 4. We're going to head back Jessup's way. Nelson with the ability to still play Dromoka's command here. So,
if you look at Jessup's deck list, I mean, of course there's a lot of removal spells to handle this Den Protector. But if you look at the creatures now, Corsair Crewfix, Sidisi, these are not answers.
like Torn Elemental's not going to get the job done.
Nope.
Dragonlord Salomgar doesn't get the block if it ever comes to that. Get to slide by all those Farika tokens. That's always nice.
And with Deathness Raptor plus Dromoka's command, Brad has one large creature answer.
Yep.
Worst comes to worst, he can always use a Death Touch creature to fight something large. And if Andrew is without a spot removal spell for the Den Protector, it's going to be hard for him to answer this. He can't block it very easily at this stage.
Looks like Jessup's going to go towards a Morph. It appears as though it is Den Protector. Pass the turn back over to Nelson. Nelson going to untap. He will draw. With that Windswept Heath over there. It's on the battlefield. That was his land for the turn. Lands are a little spread out at this point, but don't want to get that confused with the graveyard.
It's a really good opening here for Brad, but Jessup is starting to slow the game down a bit.
Which is what Jessup needs to do.
Yep. I mean, his deck is not necessarily a huge favorite if it goes long. Brad's got some staying power as well, especially post-board, but given how powerful Brad's opening was, Andrew's done a very good job of slowing the game down. Now there's an opportunity here. If that's Den Protector, he gets back a Murderous Cut. He has an answer for the Den Protector. The rest of Brad's board is mostly managed by what's on Andrew's side of the table. And then we start getting later and later in the game where Andrew has an edge.
Nelson going to try to figure out what to attack with here. It looks like Den Protector is almost certainly going to be coming in. The question is, will Deathmiss Raptor be joining? It looks like the answer is no. So, Den Protector is going to come in. Jessup's going to go down to 9. Let's see what's next here for Nelson. Of course, Earth Crew Fix. Top card, Forest. Not going to pass up that freebie. Nelson will gain a life. Next card, Deathmiss Raptor. See what's next here for Nelson, if anything.
These are really tough turns for Brad.
They are.
Andrew is capable of doing so many different things.
There's 3 mana. So he's going to put down the Dromoka's Command Shield. But for what? Just another morph. Pass the turn back, it appears. I love this morph right now because it is very unclear what that is.
Yep.
If he morphed Deathmiss Raptor, it would not surprise me at all. Got really no idea what that card is.
Yeah, it's really dangerous for Andrew to assume it's something specific here because, I mean, if it's Den Protector, it almost feels like, well, you want to wait until you have 2 mana available to be able to unmorph the same turn so it doesn't just get tagged by a removal spell. But Brad's also tight enough on mana right now that it could be Den Protector. Deathmiss Raptor makes some sense.
That's really tough to figure out. Now Jessup, his morph is Den Protector. That's why you see him thumbing through his graveyard a little bit here.
So this is a squeeze, right? If Andrew assumes that it's Den Protector and kills it, well, he's still got to beat the 4/3 Den Protector that's in play. If it assumes it's Deathmiss Raptor and kills the 4/3, and it turns out that the card in question is Den Protector, then Den Protector gets back the Den Protector, and that's a lot of value for Brad.
A little loop action there.
Yeah.
Dragonlord Salumgar was the card that was returned by Den Protector for Jessup, not Murderous Cut. So he wanted the big 3/5 flyer that takes something when it enters the battlefield.
This is still not a great answer right now because he knows that Brad has Dromoka's Command in hand. If he steals the Deathmiss Raptor, he still does not have a blocker for the Den Protector. Anything else that he takes, Brad still has the option of using Deathmiss Raptor plus Dromoka's Command to answer.
Let's see what this is. Sidisi, haven't seen this for a long time. Exploits on the stack, sacrifice the zombie token. Gonna go searching. But what are we gonna go searching for?
Now, so DC's a big play here.
It's a huge play.
It's a creature large enough to block the big Den Protector. And Demon Tutor in this spot is, not only is that just a powerful thing to be doing, but the play on Brad's side of the table is already getting pretty complicated. There's a lot of room for him to get tripped up here. And now having to play around mystery card that Andrew tutored for makes it even more complicated.
The board is certainly stable enough to cast this card.
Yes.
9 life's not a ton, but the board is stable enough. Let's see what this is. Just to carry at it, all the shields are down here. Brad has the opportunity to kind of pounce right now.
Well, Andrew still has access to a fair bit of blocking.
But no mana.
Yeah, the shields are down in terms of the spells this turn. Brad can go nuts, but Andrew knows that he's playing against just really Dromoka's Command, the draw step, which doesn't do anything in an immediate sense.
Interesting. Brad's got a lot to think about. Maybe on the upkeep, he wants to sacrifice the fetch land. A couple of different things. You already see him moving around creatures. See, okay, you would block like this, you would block like this, and you would block like this, maybe.
Because remember, Brad has the line of play right now of he can use Dromoka's command to put a counter on the Den Protector and use a Death Disruptor to fight Sidisi if he wants it. So that's a 5-power attacker that cannot be blocked. And then we're looking at some chump blocks basically on Andrew's side of the table to stay alive. The risk here with taking that line is I don't think Brad can get to a lethal attack this turn. And if he can't attack for lethal, Andrew's just tutored.
Master of the Unseen is the draw.
If Andrew's tutored for something like Crux of Fate, and you empty out everything and attack for short of lethal, you leave yourself vulnerable to just dying to Andrew's leftovers.
Well, Brad's turn's going a little bit faster here, so it looks like counter. Courser's going to fight Den Protector. Okay. 2 blockers. Yeah, we're looking at a lethal attack right now because 5 damage is going to come through no matter what. Jessup's going to go down to 4. 2 blockers for 2 2-power creatures.
Yeah, and he's got the leftovers.
Yep. And that takes care of everything he needs it to.
Yeah, I thought that Brad was short because I was working under the impression that the Death Misraptor would be the one involved in the pump or in the fight somehow. But pumping up, using course, this is just a brilliant attack. Nothing to be said about it.
What a surprise. Brad found the right line.
Just found the right line.
I can't believe it.
I thought he was a point short of lethal on that attack. He was not.
Brad Nelson going to win game number 2 here against Andrew Jessup. Bant mid-range, Sultai Reanimator. They're going to get ready for game number 3. Brad's going to take a moment, so we will come back to the booth. Cedric Phillips, Patrick Sullivan here from Baltimore. Very fun to watch game 2 there.
Yeah, that was a really interesting chess match there.
Yeah.
Especially because Brad is, Brad's in the weeds there on a couple of those turns.
For sure.
He has a sense of what the range of tricks are that are in Andrew's hand, but he's not positive. And there's a lot of spots there where he has to take some risks, specifically against Murderous Cut, which is going to be really hard for him to play around for the whole game. It's trivial for Jessup to leave up a mana in most of those spots.
Agreed.
And once the shields were actually down, Brad found the line of play that allowed him to pounce.
Yeah, I had a feeling, once Jessup tapped out for that carry at it, I was like, okay, the shields are down. Brad's been playing around the 1 mana effect for a little while now in Murderous Cut, and if you leave even more mana, it makes him have to work more things into the equation. He might be a little more tentative, but once the shields are down, then all he has to do is a little bit of creature combat, and here are your potential blockers. I have Dromoka's in my hand to maybe make things a little bit easier, and he was able to find a winning line there, and we're getting ready for game number 3.
Right, and all that information was on the table.
Yeah.
The Dromoka's command was a known thing.
Sure.
So, I don't know if that was something that Andrew necessarily didn't have on his radar there or didn't see on the board. I thought that Brad was short. I did not know that there was a way for him to get through lethal that turn, but
found a way.
That's why you get in all the reps.
That's true, and I don't know if anyone gets in more than Brad does. That's for sure.
Yeah.
The Bant Megamorph deck that he is playing this weekend is a deck that we saw at the Pro Tour in the hands of Craig Wesco. He had a really good finish with the deck, and we saw Sam Pardee at the Grand Prix. After that, the Grand Prix where Esper Dragons ran wild, and Pardee was the only one in the top 8 really with a non-Esper Dragons deck. And then after that, the deck just jumped off a cliff. We didn't see it at all, and we really haven't seen it. I'm actually a little surprised that Brad is playing this week, and I'm not really sure what led to his decision to play this deck. I'm not saying it's a bad deck. It's just people haven't even considered playing the deck after those couple of weekends. The Pro Tour and then Krakow was the Grand Prix I was talking about.
The most consistent critique I've heard of this deck about this deck is that it's just low on action.
Sure.
Once you get past, you have Dragon Lord Ojutai, you have Master of the Unseen, and those are kind of your payoff cards. The rest of this is a lot of things that Abzan does better. You have your Den Protector Death Misraptor deck, but Abzan is looping more consistently powerful cards. It's looping 3 mana removal spells and discard in appropriate spots. So it has fallen off the radar for sure, but Brad does a lot of testing, and he's not ever married to one particular standard deck. So if he's playing this deck, I'm sure he's confident it's a good choice.
Well, for those of you unfamiliar with Brad Nelson, that's pretty hard to do. His accomplishments, well, they are many. The 29-year-old who now lives in Roanoke, Virginia, originally from the North Dakota area. He's got 2 invitational top 8s with a win in 2013 Season 3. That's why he's got his Trading Post Go token. 7 Open Series top 8s with 1 win. You would think more Open Series top 8s for Brad, but only 7.
Yeah, he was active a lot more in the Open Series, I feel, like around 2012, 2013. He had a very good run with Sneak and Show around that time in Legacy Opens, but has not participated in as many Open Series events, I think, as the average viewer assumes.
Of course, he did win the Players' Championship last year. He'll be trying to defend it this year. played golf throughout high school and is an avid StarCraft 2 fan. Says it's one of the best games to watch ever.
He's definitely correct.
Yeah, he's not wrong about that. It is an absolute blast to watch. For Andrew Jessup, another player who we see quite a bit here on the Open Series. He is 19, pretty young kid actually, brother of Danny Jessup. 2 Open Series top 8s, actually lost in the finals a couple of weekends ago when he was playing Elves on the Open Series. Played baseball for a while before switching to Magic. I used to wrestle before switching to Magic. I think a lot of people used to play competitive sports before turning their attention towards this. Biggest interest outside of Magic is music, a hip-hop fanatic. Perhaps you guys can have a conversation or two.
Probably.
Probably both Wu-Tang Clan fans and a fairly decent drummer. And his brother Danny also plays Magic, but Andrew is a self-proclaimed best player in the house.
And that's interesting because Andrew and Danny share the same story. They were both competitive athletes, Andrew with baseball and Danny with lacrosse.
Yep.
Before injuries derailed both of their careers, and both of them got directed towards Magic as a result.
It's like a movie story.
Yeah, very odd for the same story to happen to the same person.
Yeah. I was really good at this sport, and then I tore my ACL, and now I have to play this. Not so bad.
Not an uncommon story. I believe Neil Reeves has a similar story. He was a very skilled football player in Arkansas in high school. Baseball as well, I think. I think he had a scholarship to play at Rice, Division I school.
They're good at baseball.
And then some injuries, and then Magic, and then, you know.
And then he ended up being great at Magic.
And then he ended up being the nuts.
Yep. Looks like Jess was going to take a mulligan down to 6. It's funny how that happens a lot.
Yep.
But I think, you know, when you're growing up, like I guess I would say you're kind of geared towards playing sports in some fashion.
It's different for different people in different environments, but Magic and sports, they're all outlets for something competitive, where you want to be testing your mettle against other people in something. And with sports, it is very frustrating to be used to doing something at a particular ability level and get injured and know that you can't do what you used to do. And Magic is something where, you know what, you keep working at it, you maintain those skills. They don't atrophy. You can't, unless something really tragic happens, you can't receive an injury that takes those skills away. And so when you have a sports injury like that, Magic is a pretty good outlet because you know when you build up your skills, they're going to last for a very long time.
Yeah, that's why I don't think I do professional sports, because if I was playing an elite level like a Derrick Rose and I wouldn't be able to do that anymore, I wouldn't be able to live with myself. It'd be so frustrating. Fortunately, that doesn't really happen in this particular game.
I'm not saying I was God's gift to basketball or anything, but I was pretty good.
Oh, but you were.
An ankle injury a couple years back, and I got set back pretty far. And that's frustrating.
Now, Brad's mana is a little awkward here. It's a little better now, thanks to the carry added, but I saw Elvish Mystic 2 Forest in a 3-color deck. Wasn't in love.
Yeah. Carry added, it cures all evils when it comes to mana bases. Pretty hard to not be able to cast your spells effectively when you have that card in play.
Pluto Delta, the land here for Jessup. The colors aren't an issue for him. He's got his Frontier Bivouac, Temple of Malady as well. He'll just pass the turn back over to Nelson. Nelson will take a draw step. You mentioned that sometimes the problem with this Bant mid-range Megamorph deck is lack of things to do.
Yes, there's just not a lot going on. Only so much action. What's really intriguing about Brad's list here is I felt like one of the big incentives to play Bant mid-range is you have Den Protector with counter spells. That's a really powerful package to have. And I assume most Bant mid-range decks would have a lot of negates and disable strokes in the sideboard. Most of the lists that I've seen over the last couple of months have been doing that. Brad with only 1 copy of Disdainful Stroke in the 75. That's his, he has 3 in the main as well. So he is on that package. No copies of Negate, though. And that's actually pretty light in terms of counter spells on the balance for this style of deck.
3 main deck copies of Disdainful Stroke. That's pretty telling.
Yeah.
You don't see that very often.
That's the package you want with Den Protector.
Sure. Let's see what's next here for Nelson. Jessup has just played a couple of lands. He's not doing anything all that interesting. Brad's going to play Death Mist Raptor. There's a Fleece main line, so he's tapping out. Says do your worst.
Well, no risk of a 4-mana sweeper right now. So Brad can set up shop, maybe go monstrous with Fleece main line next turn, not have to worry about something like Crux of Fate.
Jessup going to play a copy of Sylvan Create and just pass the turn back. Not a good mulligan if that's Jessup's play.
Right.
That stinks, to say the least. Here come the attackers. Mana Confluence here for Nelson. And now Dragonlord Ojutai
And what's really nice about this is if you're worried about Crux of Fate, first of all, Jessup has to have an untapped land to do it. And that's asking a lot of this deck that plays a lot of lands to come to play tap. Second thing is he just played a dragon. So if Jessup goes Crux on non-dragon, he's down his own Caryatid while he's stalled on lands, and you keep Dragon Lord Ojutai. So Brad's in a good spot even in the worst case scenario.
And you know what? Languish isn't legal yet.
Yes.
Because Languish would be a...
Languish changes this equation quite a bit.
That'd be a real beatdown.
We're not touching that for a couple weeks now.
That's true. Languish, of course, the new card from Magic Origins that gives all creatures -4/-4. Would do a great job of sweeping up this board. All Jessup can do right now is sacrifice that polluted Delta. He's down to 12. There's a swamp. Let's see what's next here for Andrew. He's got to do something really good this turn.
And the problem is if he's not tapping out for plays, Brad can just keep on trucking on wind with Death Mist Raptor and Fleece Mane Lion. There's no rush for Brad to attack with Dragon Lord Ojutai if he doesn't have a way to protect it. And as long as that card's in play, Crux of Fate's off the table on the other side. Doesn't do very much.
It's going to contort Jessup's plays for the entire game, really. And I like the fact that if you're Nelson, you don't even have to attack with Dragon Lord Ojutai. You can just sit there and just have a looming presence over the game.
Exactly. The other thing Brad can do is attack with everything. If Jessup uses something like Hero's Downfall on the Dragon Lord Ojutai, all right, now you can go monsters with Fleece Mane Lion, and you have more protection against Crux of Fate.
You're also getting in a pretty good hit of damage, too.
It's a lot of damage. And at this point, it doesn't feel like Jessup can stay in the game with just... he needs to tag Brad with a big sweeper for this to be a game that Andrew can catch up in.
I really like starting here, if you're Nelson, activating the Monstrosity and Fleece Mane Lion in main phase and just say, I'm going to do this right now. Do you have a response? Yes, no. If he does kill it, okay, my Dragon Lord Ojutai is good to attack. Yep. If you don't kill it, it's like, okay, well, I don't have to attack my Dragon Lord. And that's exactly why Dragon Lord Ojutai is just hanging back on defense. Getting your 7 points of damage, still in a rock and a hard place. Now Jessup gets to untap, but what do you do? What do you do here? I don't know if there's any way out of this.
Yep. Andrew can't tap out, and he can't win. He can't tap out for creatures, and he can't win with removal.
Yeah.
He's locked up in both directions.
Here's Sidisi, which might bring a zombie along with it. Hero's Downfall is 1, Island is 2, Disdainful Stroke is 3, no zombie coming. But I think there might be an extension of the hand on the way here in just a moment.
I mean, not finding a zombie is salt in the wound, but I don't even think that would have mattered very much.
I don't think so either. Jessup will just pass the turn back. Nelson gonna comfortably untap. He'll take a draw here. Looks like we'll have a Dromoka's Command. Dragon Lord Ojutai will fight. It looks like Elvish Mystic is going to get a counter.
And this allows Brad to present lethal without even having to attack with Dragon Lord Ojutai if he doesn't want to.
Yep.
He probably will because it doesn't really matter very much. What's Andrew going to do? Cast one removal spell?
Yeah, he's going to have it all.
Still a very nice sequence there from Brad.
If you're Brad, okay, I have to play around a Murderous Cut. That's actually it.
Right.
He has to play around one removal spell at this point. So Caryatid will get to block a Fleece Mane Lion. I guess a Murderous Cut will kill Dragon Lord Ojutai. Still lethal.
Still Xaxes.
Yeah. It's a well-sequenced game here by Brad.
Shocker.
Andrew Jessup's a really good Magic player, but Brad Nelson, he's a great Magic player. He's going to win this match here over Andrew Jessup, 2-1. Bant mid-range will take care of Sultai Reanimator. Nelson will move on to 5-1.
And that second game was brilliant by Brad. I mean, that was a game where a lot of things could have gone wrong. There's a lot of opportunities to trip up. And not only did Brad play really well on a strategic level, tactically he identified the spot